it's Erica here from Me2You Paper Crafts. Today I'm coming to you with my second Fun Fold Friday. This particular card is called a Mountain Fold, and I'm really happy to show you how to make this today. This is basically what it looks like, and I'm going to show you how you make this cut and some of these folds and then decorate it. This is the card I made using the Gather Together stamp set, which I love. I am a big fan of fall. I grew up in Montreal, and so I really know what fall is all about. Crisp weather, blue skies, and lots of different colored leaves. And so any fall set that happens to come out with Stampin' Up, I always purchase that. So this also comes with some fantastic papers. And this is a sample of some of the papers, and today I'm going to do the same card for you, same elements, pretty well exactly the same, but we're going to change up the colors, and we're going to bring in some of the reds and the oranges this time. So I'm going to put all of the instructions and measurements on my blog, and so you can go on over there and get those, and then replay the video and make it along with me. Although I did a lot of my stamping and coloring and cutting ahead of time to save the video being too long. So here I have my little pumpkins, and here I have my different leaves that I cut out. One fantastic thing about this stamp set is these types of dies. Rather than cut out a line die, it actually embosses this cardstock. Let me show you what those look like. They're really quite cool. This is what they look like. So it's a solid die, and then you can just, you know, cut that out of your cardstock. I saw another demonstrator do something really interesting in that she inked up the actual die. You could use sponge daubers and sponge different colors on here and then put it on your cardstock and cut it out to get a really interesting effect. Now, I haven't done that yet, but I intend to with yet another card. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our main card body. And so I'm going to pull out my trimmer here and just pull out my instructions again to make sure that I do it correctly for you. So here's my trimmer. And the first thing you're going to cut this cardstock. This is 8 by 5.5. And you're going to put it on the short side along your trimmer and line it up at, I think it's at 2 inches. That's right. Place it on the portrait side at 2 inches. There we go. All right. Then we're actually going to cut. So pull your scoring blade out of the way, and you're going to cut. And you're going to cut not the full length, of course. You're going to cut from the 3-inch mark down to the 7-inch mark. Now, on my trimmer, I've just put a strip of white paper on here just so that I could see the score line, or sorry, the ruler a lot easier. And I like to stand up and get right over my project so that I can actually see where that 3-inch mark is. So we're going to cut from, let me just lift that up a bit, from 3 inches all the way down to 7. Okay, and that's all we're going to do with that. From 3 to 7, you're going to cut. All right, now you're going to rotate the cardstock so that this narrow piece where the cut line is at the bottom. You're going to kick that cutting blade out of the way. Make sure you're not cutting now, and you're going to pull up your score blade, and you're going to line this piece of paper up at the 3-inch mark, and then you're going to score down to that cut line, and it turns out that it's at 3.5 inches. So again, I'm going to just stand up to make sure I can see that correctly. So it's at 3.5 inches, so you're just going to score down to that cut line. All right, next is you're going to move it over to the 6-inch mark. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to score down to that cut line, which is at 3.5. I like to do it a couple of times because my trimmer, for whatever reason, doesn't score that deeply. And then the last one is at 7 inches. So let me just pull out my arm. And now I'm going to move my cardstock over to 7 inches. And same thing from the top to 3.5 where that cut line is. Okay, so that's all the cutting and scoring that you have to do for this card. So we can put our trimmer away. Now I'm going to bring out my bone folder, and what we're going to do next is, you know what, I think I've missed something. Hang on, I missed one thing. I missed the center fold of the card. Sorry about that. Let me just pull this back. Okay, so we had cut at 2 inches this cut line, then we had rotated it so that the cut line was on the bottom part of the scoreboard, and then we did all of our score lines here. But the next thing we want to do is now rotate it around, and so that the cut line is closer to the top, and you're going to line this up at 4. Because this is 8 inches wide, you're going to now do another score line at 4 inches. And we're going to score that just again now down to that cut line, which is at 2 inches now. Okay, so I don't know if you can see these score lines, but I've got, this is the center fold of the card, this is that top panel, and this becomes your little mountain fold down here. So now I can take the trimmer away. Okay. So what you want to do is gently fold your card. This is the center line, so you're going to try and fold that on that score line. And just do a gentle fold to start with to get it started. And then this one is going to go as a mountain fold in here. This is, sorry, a valley fold. And this one becomes a mountain fold. It really helps just to sort of bend them a little bit just to get them started. And then this again becomes a fold, a mountain fold. So once you've got that, then you can sort of manipulate your cardstock so that now you can burnish those score lines to give them a crisper edge here. So be careful with this. You don't want that to get folded. Okay, and then you're going to lastly, but that's that half mark there. All right, so that it looks like a step. Almost as if it's a display stand. You know, as if you're going to put something in that display stand, that's what it would look like. So that's your card base. And then we've got some pieces of cardstock and pieces of DSP. And all of these measurements will be on my blog. So we have this longer vertical piece, which is going to go over here. Then we have this narrow piece here, which will go at the very bottom. And then we have this piece here, which is going to go inside the display area, as I would call it. So what you're going to do next is, I love to use my silicone mat whenever I am using my tape runner. And so let me just grab that. For whatever reason, it's not on my desk because I was working over on my other table. Here we go. So let's just, now why I like to use my craft mat is that rather than get glue on my grid paper and then everything sticks to it, I just glue on here, and the glue doesn't stick to the silicone mat, which is fantastic. So if your pattern paper has an orientation to it, up and down or sideways, you want to make sure you cut your pieces the right way. And this one happened to be that way, so I had to be a bit careful. on how I oriented or how I cut my paper, so just watch for that. Okay, that's 2 pieces done. And then the last piece. Now, on this card, the reverse of this pattern paper was a lovely plaid, and because it was similar colors, it worked out well. Unfortunately, on this paper, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because I love the reverse of this paper too. It's this burlap looking material with dots on it, but it doesn't really go with the theme of this card, so I'm going to keep it the same color. There we go. Okay. Now, again, on this card, I chose to wrap a little bit of ribbon on here just to add a little something. And so I've chosen to go with some linen thread. So we'll wrap a bit of this at the bottom. So I'm just going to put some tape on there. And then I'm going to wrap some linen thread around. And let's snip that off. And I might tie a bow on the front. Let's just see how the card comes together. All right, so now I can glue this onto my card. So you can lay this flat now, completely flat, to then put your cardstock panels on. So this makes putting these pieces on a lot easier if you just lie it flat. Once you've done that initial cutting and scoring, this card is fairly simple to put together, and then you just have to decide on your design elements, and this card lends itself to any theme whatsoever. Any stamp set, really. Any stamp set with framelits or with punches or anything like that. These colors seem a bit dark, but I really love the effect. Okay, so the card is coming together. That's what it looks like so far. Now, what I did was I cut out of the Cajun Craze, I cut out these 3 leaves, and then I used Mary Merlot and stamped this maple leaf, and then I colored it with cherry cobbler because I don't think we have a Mary Merlot blend yet, but those are the blends. And then I created my greeting, and again I used the Mary Merlot, and this little stitched greeting is from the stitched rectangle framelits. These are them right here. Let me show you. If you don't have these yet, I just love these because you can cut out lots of frames, and then the one I used was this little one for a greeting. So we've got that, and so what I did was along the top, I just glue on the back of these and arrange these, and then this is flat as well, just with your snail. But the pumpkins I have raised up with glue dots, and I put a set of pumpkins over here with glue dots. So that's what we're going to do here. So the first thing I'll do, and you only need a little bit of this snail on the bottom of your leaves. Now, be careful with this part now, because this is going to fit in a regular sized A2 envelope. So you don't want your leaves to go above this line right here. So you wouldn't want them way up here. But I think we have enough room to fit these on. Just make sure it's below that line. So if you want to line it up on your grid sheet, you can. So we have those, and then we're going to do the larger maple leaf. Stick that on. Now, I think I'm going to fix this. I don't like all that white on there, so let's fix that. I'm going to, again, use my silicone mat because I've got glue on here now. And let's pull out my cherry cobbler. I did the light, but maybe I'll do the dark around the edges. And let's just fix up these edges just so that it doesn't look, it's just too much white on there, I think. So we'll color this in. Another thing you could have done, rather than stamp it on white, you could have stamped this in Mary Merlot, on Mary Merlot, or you could have done cherry cobbler, just to bring in another fall red. But I think this will look a lot better. There we go. Much, much better. I like it. Let's bring in the right card. Yes, look at that. That makes a big difference, doesn't it? Let's put that on. And now we're going to grab, turn these upside down, and then we'll grab our Stampin' Dimensionals. I love the Stampin' Up! Stampin' Dimensionals better than any other manufacturer because they are a lower profile. Some of the others, so-called pop dots, they're just way too high. And if you want to mail your project, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So let's put one of these pumpkins on this panel. Then we'll put the larger pumpkin down here like that, and we'll overlap this one a little bit like that. Coming together. Last but not least is our greeting, and I didn't pop this up. I'm just going to put tape on the bottom. And we'll just position this somewhere in the middle like that. So there you go. There's your card. I hope you can see that. It's quite effective, I think. Yeah, I kind of like that. So there you go. There you've got two simple step cards. And I hope you enjoy it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more from me, you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will put a link to my blog post in the description, and then you can get all of the measurements and make one on your own. Send me a comment, let me know what you think, and I look forward to next Friday's Fun Fold. Bye for now, everybody.